What is going on, guys? Brando Commando back with another video, and today is gonna be my first build video on Remnant. uh, I haven't covered this game too much. Just had a couple videos of completing stuff, but before, in the past, I've covered like Destiny, Trove. I think there's one other game, but yeah, those are like kind of my main games. But yeah, my last video kind of blew up, got a good amount of views. It's like at 1.5k, so it's kind of nice to see. But anyways, let's get into the build. So this build is very versatile. It's good for, you can use it for any boss in Apocalypse, and it's pretty good, damage wise. And it's a safer route too, because you always have that life steal ability from Dreadwalker, so that's always nice to have. So let's start off from left here. We'll start off with the classes. So the primary is going to be Hunter, and the reason for that is because to increase the duration of our damage buff, it extends it, so it's better to have this as the prime. Damage wise, I guess if you wanted a little bit better survivability wise, you could have the Challenger as your main, so you have that revive every 10 minutes. I don't think it's worth it though. Black Cat, I believe, is is all you need in terms of survivability, and then after that everything should be DPS focused. Alright, so let's start off with a skill. So because we're using the Nightfall, Hunter's Mark is the best, because like these are good for like single fire weapons, I've noticed. So like if I was using Spore Bloom, if I was using Spore Bloom, then I would put on like Hunter's Focus. But Hunter's Mark is very consistent, and it's good for more faster fire rate weapons. You're gonna get way more DPS, because I tested it out too on the sparring targets. So for sure, go with Hunter's Mark. And then gear, for gear, I like to have the strongest one, armor-wise, which is Leto Mark 2. You have 3 pieces of that, and then you put on the Labyrinth Gauntlets, which is like the Archon, and those are the strongest hands for whatever reason. I'm not sure why they did it like that, but you think it'd just be a full Mark 2 set. But so yeah, that's your armor wise. A relic, I like to use the Shielded Heart, because I'm pretty much always using, I'm in Dreadwalker mode a lot, so I'm always getting that lifesteal. So I prefer to have a backup, extra shield when I want it, rather than just health is not going to help me, in my opinion, as much. Because I'll be getting my health back fairly quickly when I go into Dreadwalker. So I like to run Shielded Heart. And then I used to like mix and match and not do pure damage for this, but I decided it's more worth it to just go like the full damage route in this game, for the most part. Critical chance is important, so you want that critical damage, and then the weak spot, because we're always hitting a lot of weak spots. So those are the most important. This right here, range damage, it kind of scales. It kind of scales different, so it doesn't have as a big impact than like these. So I always choose these three over like range damage. Now, unless I'm fighting a boss with no weak spot, which that there is sometimes that happens, then you can throw on range damage or even fire rate, I guess technically. Um, so now we move over to the gun, the Nightfall. Uh, so this is Dreadwalker. This is what we're gonna be pretty much spamming, as long as we have weak spots. Uh, we're gonna be using Dreadwalker like 24/7. For the mutator, momentum is to me the best overall one for damage, because it increases critical hit and critical damage, and it stacks up to 10, and it stacks up like easy, like right off the bat. You know, the first few shots you're gonna get 10 stacks easy. So it's really good. Um, you know, momentum is the way to go. Sometimes you can people use twisted wounds, but still I like momentum. Melee weapon doesn't matter. Uh, but for the handgun, the Enigma is pretty much the only one utility-wise that you're gonna need for bosses that will help you out in Apocalypse. So, for example, Annihilation, you know, the final boss, um, Enigma comes in really clutch when those like electric, you know, balls come up, and you're able to just take them out. Versus like any other handgun, you would struggle with that. So, utility-wise, if you're doing Apocalypse playthrough, you're gonna want to get Enigma to +10. So it's really important. I like to use Bandit just because I'll get more shots. And with my Enigma, it makes it like a longer magazine, and that helps out too. Alright, so let's jump over to the subclass back up here. So I'm using Challenger. Challenger is like the best subclass for damage when paired with the Hunter. A lot of people will use Gunslinger, but I tested out the numbers, and for the most part, Challenger is better. But if you wanted to go Gunslinger, you could, and you would still be fine. But for sure, you know, Challenger or Gunslinger. And then, you know, Challenger, you're going to use Rampage, which is the good damage one. And then I guess if you were to do Gunslinger, you would do Bulletstorm. But I prefer Challenger with Rampage. Okay, so let's move on to the Amulet and Rings. I kind of do it a little different here. Most people, you know, use like a pure damage one, which would be like the Anka power. But when I tested it, I honestly, there was like barely any difference compared to the Gunslinger charm. And the reason why I like the Gunslinger charm is it makes Nightfall feel better, because like I'm sure you guys know, when you're using Nightfall in the regular mode, it feels a little lackluster. Well, this amulet helps with that, you know, reload speed and fire rate. And on top of that, I'm not using Gunslinger, so it kind of counterbalances it, because when you use Gunslinger, you get like fire rate and certain things like that. So I like to use Gunslinger charm. Alright, so Bright Steel Ring, really probably one of the most important things for Apocalypse, in my opinion. It makes it basically, when you wear like red gear, my weight is in the red zone, and I still get the fastest evade roll regardless of the armor weight. So it's really good. Black Cat is like your ultimate backup, you know, for survivability. I actually I didn't even use Black Cat on that run I did where I showed you guys my last video a few days ago. So like really, I could have killed the boss faster because I didn't even need to use it. I could have thrown on, Xenia's Malice, uh, Ring of the Flawed Beauty, or Probability Chord. But generally, for your Apocalypse playthrough, you're gonna want Black Cat. You know what I mean? Because it can save you um, when you're going through bosses, and that one time you mess up and the boss is almost dead, and Black Cat's gonna save you. Pop your relic, roll out of the way, whatever you got to do, and then you got a little save there, and hopefully you can finish off the boss. And it also has a fast cooldown, 2-minute cooldown. So really important. So the way I look at it, this is like, this ring is like, each ring has its like little focus. This one is for movement. This one is Black Cat is for your survivability. And now bisected ring. So I actually messed up. I had on bisected ring during the boss fight. Normally, what I would do is I would put on either Xenia's Malice or Ring of the Flawed Beauty. I would say both of these are good. This one's really good for final boss because his weak spot is so easy. This one is good too though, because you could stack up to, what is it, 30%? So it would be, yeah, it would be more than this one. So actually Xenia's Malice. But bisected ring is good for anytime you're traversing through the maps in Apocalypse. You just want to skip through all the mobs. And actually, so it's crazy is you start to have bisected ring on and you start to get used to it. You're like, damn, this is cool, unlimited stamina. Half the time in boss fights I am using bisected ring because it is actually really good. And my DR is still 47.4 because this bisected ring will lower your DR. So look at it, if I didn't have it on, 57.9, 47.4. So it lowers it like 10% basically. But yeah, I'm like so used to it. Like I have it on honestly the majority. And there's some fights you're gonna want it. So for example, there's a boss, Venom, and that boss does like a continuous like charge where he'll just keep going after you, and he moves pretty fast. So like I'll just keep on avoiding him, and I'll kind of kite him around that big, I think it's like a damaged boat, and you just kind of and bisected ring, that I actually you want that. So you're gonna want bisected ring on some fights. But there's something important here is I'll talk about it later. You're gonna have to get a certain stat too though that pairs well with it when you're avoiding those bosses from their attacks, if they're like fast moving bosses or they move consistently. It just makes it easier, getting through those bosses. But if not needed, Xenia's Malice, probably the best one. Okay, so here's one of the most important things right here. The Farron's Sigil. Critical and weak spot hits generate 10% additional mod power. So what's weird is this one is like a passive one. As in like it works while I'm in my Nightfall, while I'm in Dreadwalker, it's working like constantly. It's like so it's neat because while I'm in Dreadwalker, when I'm getting critical or weak spot hits, I'm still generating mod power. So when I come back out of Dreadwalker, I already have, if I'm like consistently hitting, if it's a boss with easy weak spots, you're gonna have your, I'm gonna have Dreadwalker already ready. Like for example, final boss. Um, Now if it's a boss that's like, okay, you're gonna get crit spot, or you're gonna get weak spots or crit spots, maybe like 70% out of your shots, then you're gonna be pretty close. So for the most part, for the most time, it's still good. You're gonna be close to being ready. So I'll just display it real quick. Let's start it off here. I'll just activate my abilities, skills too. All right. So we're hitting weak spot. So look at right there. You just seen it activate, and then look it's ready. You'll see a little flash by the gun area in the bottom, and you'll know that it activates. So then that's crazy, is like you still have some room of where you don't have to hit a weak spot. So I'll show you when it maxes out. So let's go into it. All right, let's see. Right there, it just flashed, and then boom, maxed out. So you still have some room to where, you know, you can not be hitting weak spots, and you'll still get that max. You'll get it Dreadwalker back. So yeah, it's really fun build, because this ring makes a huge difference. You get your life steal, and it's high damage. So I'll just show again here. Okay, boom, it flashed there. It flashed there a little bit later, because I wasn't using the skills, and the reason being is because like Rampage, you get a faster fire rate, so that's why it allows me to get it back faster. But I still got it back before it finished. So yeah, it's really fun, and you can use this setup on any boss. It works good. Now let me show you though. So if a boss doesn't have a weak spot, there is a change that you have to make. Which there's not too often, but there is some bosses that don't have a weak spot, or it's like really hard to hit a weak spot. So for example, Cancer, the first boss on Re-Earth, he has like I believe he's basically, it's pretty hard to be hitting his weak spot. So you're gonna want to throw on the Burden of Gambler. To me, this is a good one. I like to use because it increases my critical chance and damage. So I'll be hitting like yellow numbers a lot, like the critical hits and damage. To me, that works good. Damage wise, you could still run Farron Sigil 2, because if you look, it says critical and weak spot hits. So when you're fighting non-weak spot bosses, you're still gonna be hitting criticals. It'll just not be as you're not gonna get it back as fast, because like right now I have 15%. Let me actually test it out. I think so. Okay, I think we hit crit hits on when you hit the body. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So let's just test it out here. Let's see where I get it back. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah. So you can see it, and it's a big difference when there's no and then but you know you can still get it back fast. See by just shooting. That's like one little clip because I'm using where's it at? Spirit mod power generation, and then look at boom boom boom, and I'm already good to go. So I don't know, it's kind of your choice whether you want to run honestly, yeah, it probably is just best just throw on always keep Farron's sigil on. I don't know why I don't have it favored. There we go. Should be in the top there. Yeah. So yeah, it works out. Okay, so let's go. Let's cover the traits here. Oh shit! It took away. Oh, it's because I switched off. Okay, so for the traits, these you have to. It comes with it. So the hunter, long shot, challenger, strong back. It does suck because I waste out on 10 traits here for strong back. Because it literally doesn't matter for us, you know, whether I have 80 or 90 weight, because I'm using bright steel ring, you know, so it kind of sucks. But I mean, it is what it is. It's still better damage wise to have rampage on. I like to use regrowth for health regeneration. It's always good to have a consistent little health regeneration when you're damaged, because if you have no health regeneration, you know, it's not that good. You know, with Nightfall though, it does help that I have lifesteal, but still I like to have regrowth. Triage basically just buffs health regen. It affects it. It affects all healing, so it helps speeds up health regeneration. So these go good together. I like to do ammo reserves. I just feel like, I mean, you probably don't need it, but I always like to have like extra ammo. But these are probably not the most important stats, traits. So you could switch out stuff. But now untouchable is really important. I recommend that. You know, it increases your evade window by 30%. So that basically when you dodge, if you dodge slightly early or late, it's gonna help you and increase that window of where you'll be okay and not get hit. I put the rest into fortify just to get my armor up, because half the time I'm using bisected ring. Spirit increases mod power generation. This helps out, you know, getting back Dreadwalker fast. Now here's the really important one in Apocalypse, fitness. So increases evade distance. So that's how far like you roll, and this is huge. Like basically when I'm spamming my roll using bisected ring, Venom, he can't catch me, so I can just kite him, and if I can always play it safe and like get away from him because I have that max roll distance and I'm using bisected ring. So like in some boss fights, you'll want to use bisected ring, but if you don't need it, like final boss, you don't need it. I just accidentally left it on. I would put on Zany Malice, and you know, to basically kill the boss faster. So yeah, that works out. Oh, there is one exception. So when I was doing my playthrough, this was my second Apocalypse playthrough, but I ended up bursting the Red Prince this time. And I was like, damn, you know, I'm rolling, trying to dodge, and I'm rolling so far, I'm rolling in the fire. because my roll is so far right. So I actually had to take off fitness and put it on, you know, no 0%. So I'd be doing like a short, small roll. So that's the only exception if you guys ever fight the Red Prince. He's the dude with all the fire and stuff. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. Pretty sure I covered everything. Yeah, there's really you don't need, the only consumable, or like, what do they call it? The concoctions or whatever. You don't need any to beat Apocalypse. Like, that's only if you're doing like some speed run or some shit, or I don't know, you're trying to do like a, you know, a flawless or certain things to make it easier. But to me, all you need is ammo boxes just in case. You know, you don't want to like run around to get ammo, and you could just pop your ammo box. But yeah, guys, Nightfall Apocalypse build. Very versatile. You can use this. You know, I've used it, so I know like firsthand. You can use this on any Apocalypse boss, and it will excel well. You know, regardless, whatever you're fighting. And you can use this loadout for every single boss. Like I said, the only changes you would make would be for Bisected Ring. If it's a boss where you have to really avoid and spam your roll to make it easier, you can keep it on. Or if you don't, if it's like very calculated few rolls, you could put on a damage ring. But yeah, guys, that pretty much sums up the video. Not sure if there's anything else I'll be covering in this game. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people are like dropping builds left and right. I always see, but yeah, I mean, I was using like the Spore Bloom for a little bit. The Spore Bloom's fun to use, so maybe I'll make a build on that eventually. But yeah, guys, if you have any comments or any questions, not everything I use in this build is not mandatory, but there is some stuff, like I said, that's mandatory, like Farron's Sigil, and you know, there's some things that you're gonna want to do that's gonna make it, you know, make it good. Like how when I did that, you know, final boss, it was pretty smooth run. But like there is some changes you can do, like the amulet, if you wanted Black Cat, if you're that confident in not dying. Like I didn't need it technically on that last boss, but it's all up to you. But yeah, guys, that pretty much covers everything. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.